Manga and graphic novels.
Inside lane, missing exits, glued to the pavement. Between the lines, I'm keeping my gaze straight ahead as the last stop flies by. No more waiting for the gun to fire. No more walking through revolving doors. I've gone around once, and I don't need to go around anymore. Break away, forget your sober case. Stop dwelling on empty words. Stop stalling in the doorway. And cancel the cruise control. Switch it in the manual. Don't you wanna feel right? Shape the mind, speeding up the pace, turning up the heat, where I need to be for the first time. I'm taking risks, I'm casting off without a lifeline. Break away, forget your sober case. Stop dwelling on empty words. Stop stalling in the doorway and cancel the cruise control. Switch it in the manual. Don't you wanna feel right again? Don't you wanna feel whole? Don't you wanna feel?
Hey y'all, welcome to a new manga and graphic novel / comic reading vlog. If you have been on this channel, you know that I used to do these a lot. It just got harder with managing both channels at the same time, and so now that I just have this channel, I can focus on going back to those vlogs. I'm going to reset the numbering. Before, I think I ended up at like in between, somewhere between like 16 and 18, but I'm just going to restart. We're going to start fresh. We're going to start new. So if you have never seen one of these vlogs before, basically what I do is it's just like any other reading vlog that you would see on any other channel, except I primarily focus on reading graphic novels, manga, and comics and talking about them, which I think is really, really fun. So what I am going to start by doing is telling you, one, it is Sunday. I started filming this vlog on a Friday because I just uploaded the 30 and 30 announcement, and I'm feeling jazzed about getting back into filming and getting this channel up and running again. Like I explained in that video, I kind of needed just like a short-ish type of break where I could, you know, get things situated and together. It is actually super late. I need to be going to bed, but here we are. It's super late. I have to be up early. Tomorrow's my kid's first full day of school, and so we have to be, before we were on the later schedule and I was off, but now it's back to the routine and she has to be there earlier, and so I have to get up earlier and she has to eat breakfast here, and so it's a whole thing. But I did want to go ahead and start this vlog before all of that because there's some stuff that I read this weekend that I do have to return back to the library, and a couple of things that I do want to try to read tonight, hopefully giving myself a cutoff time of like midnight tonight to get to bed, although I've done a lot today, y'all. I've done a lot around the house today and I am completely and totally exhausted. So let me pull up Goodreads really, really quickly. And I'm going to mention one thing that I actually read before this vlog started because it's a new series that I got based off of Izzy's recommendation, but I just wanted to mention it because I do plan on possibly reading the second volume this week, and that is Ramen Wolf and Curry Tiger. This is a cute, like, it feels slice of life in some ways, but not exactly. It's about a chubby wolf named Mita and a ripped tiger named Yanagi, and they meet each other to develop this friendship, but their friendship is based off of their enjoyment of food. The tiger really likes curry and the wolf really likes ramen. It took me a while to get into this one because the art style is, to me, feels a little chaotic in some scenes. Let me see. Now that I'm used to it, maybe it doesn't feel as chaotic. Okay, this is a good example. So this is where I feel like the artwork is a little bit on the chaotic side, and it was hard in some instances to keep up, and I wasn't always a fan of the way that the wolf was necessarily drawn. But it is like another food-based manga, and y'all know how much I love food-based manga, and so I decided to keep going with it, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. There's not really a lot to it, but I think it's a good look at the development of their friendship and finding purpose in life through their friendship and food, and I thought that that was really cute. So I do currently have volume 2 of this checked out in the library, so I plan on continuing with the series, but I just wanted to mention this one because the second volume may or may not come up during this week's vlog. The next thing that I ended up reading, which I did not even mark in Goodreads, but I will go back and do that, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, but this is Boitata, the Fire Snake. This is a Brazilian graphic novel. I ended up selecting these from my library because I thought that it was cool that Capstone was doing these graphic novels through their line like Discover Graphics, where they have graphic novels that are based off of folklore and folk tales from around the globe. And I think that they have them from China, Peru, India, West Africa, and more. I read one that was from Hawaii a couple of weeks ago. This is the next one that I wanted to read, and it literally is about the origin of this fire snake and how it protects the forest and what to do if you ever encounter this snake whenever you're there, and it's based specifically off of Brazilian folklore. These are like really easy to read. These are what I consider to be more like introductory graphic novels. They're made for a younger audience. I would say anywhere between the ages of like 7 to 9. There's not a lot of text, pretty big paneling, but I think that it's good in terms of introducing kids to more diverse storytelling, more diverse like legends, and I think that it's a simplistic way that it's done. I thought that this one had a good message or good messaging about like conservationism, protecting the forest, and it gives you a little bit of information like in the beginning about how to read the graphic novel, which I think is great, especially if you have a younger one that is just getting into reading graphic novels. And then it has a cast of characters so that whoever's reading it becomes more familiar. It has a glossary in the back with a pronunciation guide, which I think is good, which is because if you have someone that's younger and learning to become more of an independent reader. And then there are writing prompts and discussion questions, these are good for classrooms, I think. And then more information about the author and the illustrator. The author was born in Brazil and has published children's books in Portuguese in Brazil and in Spanish for the foreign language educational markets. So I'm glad that they're actually pulling authors and illustrators from these specific communities to do this work. So I'm gonna give this one 4 stars. I believe I gave the one that was based off of a Hawaiian legend, I gave that one 4 stars as well. And that one I knew a little bit about because I have been reading some middle grade that is based off of like Hawaiian mythology. And so those are solid. And I plan on reading the rest of them from the series because I think that we got all of them. And let's see, trying to figure out what order to go in here. Okay, so I then ended up reading Romantic Killer. This was another one that I randomly checked out from the library because I found out that it was full color and these are relatively expensive. Full color are always expensive. The bigger they are, the more expensive they are. So this one is fairly thin and it's already priced at $17 here in the US. This one kind of caught me off guard. So I didn't know what to think of Romantic Killer because I was like, ooh, I feel like this is not going to go in a direction that I want it to go in. So it focuses on a main character by the name of Anju. And she's in high school and she loves gaming. She loves eating chocolate. She loves her cat. So while the rest of her peers are really getting interested in like romance and finding partners, she's kind of like, I don't care. I just want a game and I just want to, you know, eat my chocolate in peace and I want to hang out with my cat. And so there's this like magic fairy that pops up and is basically like, the population is dropping and we need you to do your part, that was the line where I was like, yuck. That's the part that gave me the ick, and I was like, yeah, you know, I'm probably not gonna like this, because essentially you're saying that because she's a woman, she needs to do her job in helping make sure that the population stays at a steady growth, and because she's not interested in forming a relationship, that she's contributing to the decline of the population. So I was like, yeah, not my thing. But I was like, okay, I didn't buy it. I checked it out from the library. I'm just going to stick with it, see where it goes. This does have some very questionable like beginnings, but it's hilarious because the fairy then strips her of her access to chocolate, strips her of her cat, and takes all of her gaming consoles and games like away. And it's basically like, you're going to be forced to live your life as if you were in a shoujo manga. And it's very stereotypical of a shoujo manga. Like it does not take itself seriously. And because this book does not take itself seriously, I also don't think that you should take it seriously, because she gets put into these insane situations. So she meets this guy randomly. The fairy kind of sets it up. They run into each other. She breaks his phone. Typical cute shoujo meeting. And all the girls in the school absolutely love him. He comes from a different area and no one knows him. And so it's kind of like fresh meat type of situation. And the fairy sets it up to where it creates a whole typhoon to make him be stranded at her apartment. Now keep in mind, her parents randomly take this job to America and then tell her, you can't come. This is the fairy setting everything up. And she's like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're going to be in America for 2 to 3 years. You'll be fine. And she's like, well, I can come with you. And they're like, no, you're going to stay here because you have to go to school. And it's like, wait, what? So when they get stranded, like, it's like, okay, this is convenient. My parents are not here. Here's a guy. And she always refers to him as the hot guy. And she's like, well, I'm not going to fall in love with him. But then they end up like getting this really, really interesting bond with each other. And then the fairy sets it up to where like they're forced to be together like at all times. The ending of this one was pretty wild. It introduces another character and I was like, yeah, this is definitely every single trope that you see in a shoujo manga. And so I think that was like the mangaka's like intention behind this, was to make fun of the tropes that we typically see in shoujo. Like I said, the introduction to this one is a little like off-putting, but I think when you realize that it is a joke within itself, that you can't take it seriously. But there were moments where I literally was laughing out loud while reading this, and I really enjoyed the artwork. There were some scenes that were absolutely hilarious, like that particular panel. Like it's just funny moments, a lot of funny moments. So I think I am going to continue on with the series, and I gave this one 4 stars. I also ended up, and this is one where I feel like super conflicted, I also ended up reading Blood on the Tracks. Now all of this, y'all, has happened within like the past 48 hours, mind you. I also ended up reading Blood on the Tracks volume 16. This was the last volume that I needed to read before we get volume 17, which is the conclusion to the series, in September. I don't know if I'm going to get it in September because I'm going to check it out from the library and I need to see what the holds list looks like. So if the holds list is already long, I probably will not be able to get to it until October, November. But I'm not necessarily pressed to finish the series either. It's definitely lost its steam, and I've talked about this in previous videos where Blood on the Tracks was a very well-written manga series for the first 12 volumes. It's when we leave the 12th volume and jump 20 years later that I feel like Oshimi really lost his steam in his plotting and character development, and I think a lot of that has to do with pacing, and I think the time jump was literally too much. And so the heart, the core, the meat of the story is really lost when you start getting into the second half of it. And it's sad because it's almost like you want to rec this series to people, but then you only really feel comfortable recommending the first half because the second half is not as strong. I feel very conflicted over this specific volume because there is some like restoration of Sechi's character that I didn't understand. And I don't want to spoil it because there's a lot that he deals with through the entirety of the first part of the series. And then we get to the second half and we kind of see the repercussions of the relationship between him and his mother. And it sends him into a deep and dark depression. But it changed, like the whole thing changes in this. And I feel like so conflicted because I get what Oshimi was saying in this, in a sense that like broken people break other people. If they don't get the help that they need and they don't heal, they continue that cycle. And so there is this point in this where we see we see kind of him grappling with the fact that his mother did these things because she also was broken as a child. And so she never healed from that, and so inevitably she continued the cycle. But I don't like that there was like no type of professional guidance in this. And I think that, you know, not saying that he couldn't come to that conclusion himself, but the turnaround, the 180, I think it was just handled poorly, but I get the intention. So I gave this one 3 stars. I am glad that I did not collect the series past volume 11. I only own volumes 9, 10, 11, and I will keep them because that is the part of the series that I really love. But I'm glad that I did not invest my money in getting anything past that because I would have been so upset and so disappointed. And it just worked out in my favor that that I ended up starting reading these from the library. But yeah, I mean, the artwork is absolutely stunning. As always, Oshimi is beyond talented when we're talking about, you know, the art. There's so much emotions that are evoked through the artwork, but the storytelling, man, the storytelling really falters. But I feel like I've heard people say before that Oshimi is known for that, like great starts but has a lot of trouble finishing. And I know a lot of writers who do have issues with that. Like the beginning of a series can be really good because the initial ideas and build up is great, but finding a way to write a conclusion is where they ultimately struggle. And I think we see that with Oshimi in Blood on the Tracks. Now, after I read Blood on the Tracks, I decided to check out Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees by Patrick Horvath. This is a comic that was done by IDW, and they're one of the smaller publishers. Not like, when I say smaller, I mean like smaller than DC and Marvel, but they're not like extremely small, like but they're one of the smaller publishers when I compare them to DC, Marvel, and Image. But they put out some really great stuff, and this is one that they started putting out last year, and I had saw it on Hoopla, but I had never Like, I never went back to go look at it. And then randomly this weekend, I was going through like all the comics I had marked as favorites on Hoopla. And I was like, you know, I had marked this one as a favorite in the past. And I know that it was, I can't remember if it was nominated for I think it was nominated for an Eisner, but I don't know if it won an Eisner. I don't know. Something basically prompted me to go back and read the series. And so I went back, I checked out the first issue and was mind blown. This series is essentially Richard Scarry's Busy Busy Town. If you've never seen that before, Google it right now. It is a small town of anthropomorphic animals that literally like live like humans. And it's like that, but meets Dexter. So our main character is a bear named Sam who lives in this small town where we have these anthropomorphic animals and nothing ever goes wrong there. Like, everybody gets along. It's quite, for lack of a better term, it's boring. It's uneventful. And you find out that Sam has an itch to do things. Sam, and this is not a spoiler, you could see it from the first issue, Sam is a serial killer. And so she scratches that itch whenever she needs to, but she makes sure that she does it outside of the town. So she is the town's serial killer, but she makes sure that she doesn't kill anybody in the town because she knows that inevitably it would destroy the town, right? So she makes sure that she goes elsewhere, scratches her itch, and then she comes back. But unfortunately, people start dying in the town. And so Sam is like, there's another serial killer. This is not my work. And I need to figure out who this serial killer is, because this could easily like reveal what I do. And people in this town have known her for decades and they think she's like the sweetest person. She runs a hardware shop and everybody absolutely loves her. Like, she, you know, she's very kind, very charming. Like, it makes sense. It all adds up. But basically, she's on a quest to figure out who the person is. And granted, my gut was right about who it was, but it's so sick and twisted how we get there. And when the reveal happens, I was like, you might be more off your rocker than Sam is, because what in the hell? And then the final issue, I was like, no, Sam is really fucked up in the head. Like, she's sick. She's so sick. She's so sick in the fucking head. It's so good, y'all. I have never been like more disgusted and entertained at the same time. There were just little things about this town that just blew my mind. Like, there is a butcher shop in this town and I'm thinking, like, what animals are y'all killing? Like, there's a place where you serve bacon and eggs and there's pigs that live in your town. Like, so who's getting killed and why are you eating each other? Like, it's just, and it's a cat that runs the butcher shop. Like, it's just so many interesting elements to this. I really, really like the artwork. The art style is, I think, what makes it, not the fact that it's just anthropomorphic animals, like a part of this town, and it kind of reflects the same thing that Richard Scarry did, but the artwork I think is also reminiscent of Richard Scarry's artwork. That's what made like the connection really, really strong for me. But I've also seen people comment this as like, it's the Bears and Bears, which I can also see that too. But there's a lot of like morally gray and just downright evil things that happen in this book. There are like points where I was amused and I'm like, I don't think I should be amused at this or find this entertaining or funny. But my gosh, it really, really is. So this trade actually does not come out until September. So if you want to read it right now, you have to read it issue by issue. I read it through Hoopla. You can check to see if your library has it via Hoopla, and it's 6 issues, but I will be getting a copy of the trade when it releases because, listen, I just feel like it worked so well together. It was so good. I think I rated each issue in between 4 and 5 stars. So I would say anywhere between like 4.25, 4.5 stars, probably leaning more towards 4.5 stars, because there were some issues that were stronger than others, but as a whole, it was really good storytelling, and I'm hoping that we get to see more from this town. I'm hoping that this wasn't just like a limited series, like kind of one-time gig, because it deserves more. It really deserves more. It deserves a hell of a lot more, and I absolutely love that. But two things that I need to read because they're due back to the library. I do have Delicious in Dungeon Volume 2. I read Volume 1 a while ago and really liked it. This is one that had been recommended to me on this channel a lot because I was like, food manga, food manga. And everybody's like, read Delicious in Dungeon. And I was like, okay. But when I start reading it and I realized like, okay, they're cooking monsters. But the way that we get kind of like this paralleling between the monsters and real food, I think is really, really unique, and I ended up loving Volume 1. I need to read this because somebody has this on hold and I still haven't returned it. It's overdue, so I need to read that. And I've also been slowly making my way through A Sign of Affection. I was not a huge fan of Volume 3. I think that there were some things that were handled strangely in Volume 3 that I wasn't a big fan of, but I wanted to continue the series. I know that this is a big hit amongst a lot of people, and this is the same mangaka of Shortcake Cake, so I know a lot of people are drawn to it, but we'll see how Volume 4 goes. I will continue to possibly read that one from the library. Now, walking into this week, I have been away from work for a week. So there's going to be a lot of me playing catch up, and of course with all of my manga, graphic novels, and comics, I'm reading them physically. So there is no audiobook list, like nothing like that. Although you can, they have graphic audio now for some comics, graphic novels, which I think is interesting. I am not sure what I'm going to get to this week. I don't know what I'm going to have lined up for the week, so I'm not going to give myself a TBR, but I do have quite a few things kind of like checked out right now, which, let's see, it's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. I don't know why I have so much checked out. I think I just went on like a click, just a click type of thing where I just wanted to get everything. It helps with the like book buying. This is the case study of Vanitas. I don't know anything about this. This is done by Yen Press, but I have this one checked out. I'm not going to give you any description of anything because I don't have the time right now and I need to really start getting ready for bed. Skip and Loafer Volume 2, which I've already read. This is going to be reread for me. I just needed to reread to refresh my memory because I think I made it up. Maybe I only got to Volume 3 or 4, but I couldn't even remember where I had stopped with Skip and Loafer. But I need to catch back up. Boys Run the Riot Volume 3, because I read Volume 2. Why did I read Volume 2? Oh, I read Volume 2 in June for the Amazing Readathon, and those were the volumes that I owned, Volume 1 and 2, so I decided to check out Volume 3 from the library. I have been wanting to read Our Dreams at Dusk, and I haven't read it yet, so my library had that and I checked it out. And I wanted to slowly catch up with A Business Proposal, which is a memoir, and I really liked Volume 1, so I wanted to go ahead and check out Volume 2. I'm also trying to decide like what I'm going to do in terms of 30 and 30 being next month, like how much I want to pull back on and how much I want to save for 30 and 30. I think for 30 and 30, I'm going to try very, very hard to read as much as I can from my personal shelf, but we'll see how that goes. And I also showed a clip of me and baby girl going to the bookstore. That should be in the B-roll footage. I picked up 2 different things that I've been meaning to get because I don't think we can get these at my library. So I got Punch Drunk Love, which I've been eyeing for a minute, and then I also got the Dangerous Convenience Store. Now I know that these have explicit content. This is 7 C's and these have some smut in them, and these are part of 7 C's webtoons. So I know there's some explicit content in these. I may save these for 30 and 30, to be honest with you. I think these 2 I'm going to hold off on reading until 30 and 30, but we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to do an introduction, give y'all a couple of thoughts of where I've been. reading this past weekend, since the first half of this was pretty much B-roll footage. This is going to be a long vlog. I feel like this is going to be a long vlog. Like, this clip alone is almost 30 minutes because I talk a lot, but it's fine. It's okay. It's fine. But all right, y'all, I will check in later. Tia cake.
I don't understand why they put that in packaging. It looks actually really good.
What is it in the middle?
It doesn't smell but it does taste good. And then I praise it.
Not me talking all that mess, talking about this vlog's gonna be so long, this vlog's gonna be so long, and I literally like read in this vlog, but I literally only spoke once, which is wild. But this so frequently happens in my vlogs because life takes over, and I had such a busy week going back to work that I didn't get to read as much as I wanted to read. So that was like part number one to that. Part number two is I had a very, very busy weekend. So this vlog was a little over a week long because of the way that I started it. From here on out, the vlogs will only be 1 week long. But I did end up finishing Delicious in Dungeon Volume 2, which there's not really much that I can say about it simply because it is the second volume in the series, but it does pick up right where we leave off in the first volume, where our characters are diving deeper into the dungeon. They are getting to explore more aspects of the dungeon in relationship to how one could survive and this like connection between making the food. And it's very interesting, like some of the creatures that they come across that are very similar to the creatures of like our world, which I think is fascinating. Like they had one that was just like, I forget what it's called because I don't have the copy because it was the library's copy, where it was like this creature that looked like a crab, but it wasn't a crab, but the way that they ate it was kind of like eating crab legs. It's just a very, very fascinating series, and I'm really, really enjoying myself. I haven't even marked it on Goodreads yet, and I need to go back and mark it, but I definitely would give volume 2 4 stars. And I'm thinking about collecting the series at this point, only because it's such a popular series and it's really hard to get from a library. I can't get it digitally, and like the volumes keep going into still out status because people are not returning them, which is not anything that we can help at all. And I just want to be able to continuously like move through the series. So I have a little bit of wiggle room coming up, and I think I may just go ahead and purchase volumes 3, 4, and 5 for myself so that I can continue reading the series as I please instead of being kind of like at the mercy of everyone else that's reading it. So I didn't get to read anything else that I had kind of picked up for the week. I'm gonna probably go ahead and draw that into the next vlog, which I'm going to start filming like right after I finish up this clip. But I did end up going to a con, which you saw all those clips from. We ended up getting this like mystery box where you pay a certain amount and they fill the box up with like different treats from all over the place. And one of the ones that we ended up trying was the pia cake, and I did not like it at all. It's kind of like texture wise, I thought it was fine, but I couldn't get a handle on the taste of it at all. And I think my expectations of what it would taste like are very different than what it is. It's mung bean is the basis of it, and I think that it's a Vietnamese moon cake, and I did not enjoy it at all. It was just not my vibe. But it did have seaweed in it. It had high chews in it. It had ramen in it. It had pocky in it. And you saw we got some of the, I forget the name of the drinks that we had, but I had like bought 2 because they were so good. And I need to find more because they were so good. I bought more ramen, and then they did have a vendor out there that was selling, I guess this is used, I don't know, because these volumes look pretty brand new to me. I mean, I could tell that they're a little used, but there's like no yellowing or anything like that. They were selling manga 4 for $20, so $5 per volume. Let me tell you something, with the price of manga, like, you're not going to get that. Like this, which is one volume that I got, Orange, which I have read before, but I want to go back and read it because it's been a long time since I've read it, and I know that there's more volumes to this. This volume alone, this complete collection, would be $20. And I paid $5 for it, and it's in pretty decent condition. I can tell that someone had it before because I can kind of look at the crease marks here on the spine, but for the most part it's in pretty good condition. And as someone who does weed and does look at condition of stuff every single day when they're at work, I can tell you that this is in pretty good condition for me to get it for $5. So I ended up getting that, and then I also ended up getting volume 4, volume 5, and volume 6 of The Promised Neverland. And I went ahead and got those because I do own volumes 1 through 3, and I haven't continued with the series yet. I wanted to go ahead and kind of prep myself a little bit for 30 and 30, because one of the prompts for 30 and 30 is to not to buy any manga while you're doing the readathon. So if I wanted to have anything on hand before the readathon officially starts, mind you, this readathon officially starts this upcoming week. Like the week that this video is going up, this readathon is happening. And so I am trying to prepare myself for walking into this readathon this coming week. So I did end up picking up 4 volumes of manga. It was just fun kind of just being at the con. Like, I usually just go personally like for the food and possibility of getting manga at a discounted price, which all things were accomplished as planned as of the time that I was there. So I enjoyed myself. I didn't get the opportunity to pick up anything else outside of Delicious in Dungeon volume 2, which is perfectly fine. I'm hoping to get more stuff done as I start this next vlog, and that's mainly because of the fact too that it was my first week back at work after taking a week off, and so I was playing a lot of catch up, and today at work it felt more even paced again. So I feel like I'm back on track, which means that I feel less stressed when I get home and I don't want to just crawl into a hole and sleep. So that is going to be it, my friends, for this vlog. Let me know what you've been reading lately, comics, manga, graphic novels. As always, if you like this channel, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. If you're looking to follow me on social media, support the channel, all those links will be down in the description box below. And I'll be back with another video hopefully this week before 30 and 30. I'm hoping to have a video up before 30 and 30 because I want to give my like TBR of possibilities and maybe give some recommendations, but fingers crossed, we'll see. Y'all know I'm not really pushing myself to film. I'm kind of doing it as I feel inclined to do so, especially with like sit down videos. Vlogs are a lot easier, but yeah, we'll see. All right, y'all, bye.